Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions for the first time in 86 years.
Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is banner 18.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome into episode 64 of A New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy Online, and I am joined here this morning by my dad and co-host, the OG Frid. Dad, would you like to say hello to the listeners?
Good morning, newbies. Good morning, Hanson. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little happy with my bracket in one sense. In one of my groups, I'm still holding out hope on the other one.
I'm not on any of them. I made 11 brackets and yet somehow didn't even make it through the first day without feeling like it was done. Which is just so weird because in a year of a lot of craziness in college basketball, it felt like, and a lot of good teams dropping to unranked teams or dropping bad in-conference games during the regular season with all of this nonsense, I would have thought this would have carried over into the tournament too. And it seems like it's just been very chalky so far. We didn't see a lot of crazy upsets or anything. The Sweet 16 got finalized last night, and there's nothing too crazy in there that,
our Rams almost did it.
Almost, I know. And that would have been probably the craziest thing about this Sweet 16. That Colorado State Maryland game, that was great. But that's what I'm saying. This was the second day, the round of 32, or the second round. And that's our first buzzer beater, crazy come down to the last second game that we had all tournament so far. I'm not going to say it was bad basketball, but I definitely did feel like, we've had better tournaments. We've had better round of 64s and 32s. Even though some of these games, remained close. So a lot of these games you felt like were decided pretty early on into the second half, and then your last 10 minutes was spent seeing if they can pull this comeback and not if they can, set up a out of bounds play and get a 3 at the end to win the game.
I did say
fun. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I did say that, in basketball, you play with, 5 athletic players at a time, and, anyone could be as talented, or if, you have a good hot shooting night. But come this point, and when we did our bracket, we were saying it looks chalky. It's because the talented teams are playing for the larger universities.
Yeah. And, while we all love to do our upsets and root on our Cinderella teams come this time of the year, this is really when the great teams, show that they are the great teams and why they've been the number 1 seed or number 2 seed and stuff like that. But all in all, I don't think it's like a bad tournament. I've still had a tremendous amount of fun watching basketball literally for 50 hours since Thursday. Every game, I have been so locked in. I just locked in watching here, seeing everything. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 games that I actually didn't have eyes on the whole entire weekend. And that's March for you. And that was great. So it leaves us with a Sweet 16 now in the East. We had Duke facing Arizona. Actually, let me hold on. Okay. Yeah, I have the times too now. All right, actually, let me start. I'll start in the East. Duke facing Arizona on the 27th at 9:39. So that's the Thursday games. You've got BYU and Alabama in the East, which will be right before 7 o'clock on Thursday. On Friday, you've got Auburn, Michigan at 9:39. You've got Michigan State, Ole Miss at 7 o'clock. On Thursday again, we've got Florida and Maryland going on around the same time as the BYU-Alabama game, about 30 minutes later, as well as Texas Tech, Arkansas, that are going to tip off around 10 o'clock. And then on Friday, the last two, Houston, Purdue, 10 o'clock game. Kentucky, Tennessee, 7:30 on Friday. It's created a lot of good matchups. I'll say this some of these games are really exciting. Specifically, I'll start off with like Duke in Arizona. Obviously, everybody knows, big Duke fan here, and been hosting watch parties on Twitch with my buddy Josh for these games so far. I've been live for both of the two and sitting there and watching the team, really, really in depth. And we knew going into this year that this Duke team was going to be a problem in this tournament. And it seems like they are just a step above potentially everybody else remaining in this tournament. I'd say maybe outside of just like Auburn, but there just seems to be another level that Duke was able to tap into this weekend, specifically yesterday against Baylor. And I want to get your thoughts on them and the rest of their run here in the East.
Well, yeah, they've had an absolute domination throughout their tournament. Kind of like that first UConn run. But, what I'm worried about is Auburn, and the consensus number one in the tournament, they have already felt some close games. Duke hasn't.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a difference coming into this Arizona team? Although, Arizona 4, I think that was a kind 4.
Yep. Yeah.
They haven't been very well, throughout the year. Haven't had long stretches of high. They've had their ups and downs.
Consistency. They've had their ups and downs, been very inconsistent, but at their peak, and that's what the committee judged them on, majority of it is why they got this 4 seed. And they were able to pull it out last night against Oregon. I think it'll be a good game. We've seen this game already this year. This was one of the out-of-conference games very early on. I think it was like the 5th or 6th game of the season for both of these teams. So completely different teams than they were back then. But we are still looking at, this Duke team. I do think they did beat Arizona. I can't remember the score right now. It might have been like 8 points, something close. But it was a back and forth game. And I do anticipate that come Thursday, is, like you're saying, is it going to be a problem for this Duke team because they haven't had to go down to the wire? Potentially, but I don't think so, just because in the first half of that Baylor game yesterday, you look at a team that Baylor was playing phenomenal, staying around in it up until about 18 and a half minutes. So there's about 1:38 left when I remember saying on the stream, give me a good 1:38 to close out this half here, boys. And they may have heard me, because what was at that point, I want to say a 6 or 8 point game, ended up turning into a 17-point lead at half. Duke stopped Baylor from scoring for the last 3.5 minutes of the first half, just with lockdown defense and, even some of the hot shooting that gets some of these lower seeded teams into the game and sticking around in the first half to start. it starts to balance back out a little later into the game. And then they took that momentum coming out of the second half and, just got up and did what they needed to do and, go beat another team by 20 points. It's definitely going to have to be different. This Arizona game, they're going to be a little more defensive, I think, than Baylor was in keeping them in it. But I think Duke's still going to pull it off. It'll be fun, though. It's a fun team, and I hope this stays competitive. This isn't another blowout situation for them.
Well, as much as I said opening up this little segment that is this the first potential close game, I mean, they just got talent all over. Cooper Flagg just can make incredible, passes to assist his other teammates, just elevate them. I'm going to say this is a 15 at the minimum point win.
I think at the end it could be. Yeah.
Of all these games, this will be the one that's most lopsided score-wise. I won't say
at the end.
Yeah, the game. I mean, I'm sure the game, but in the end, I think that Duke will do. I mean, they just look so talented. If I had to pick an upset,
well, we'll go through these and we can figure it out here. So we'll move on. But it sounds like we both think it's going to be a pretty sizable Duke win.
Yeah.
Arizona will stick in it, but I think that athleticism and the talent is just going to prevail for Duke down the stretch and stretch out that lead to, like you're saying, probably the most lopsided one of the weekend, or at least this round. So then who will be meeting them? It will be between BYU and Alabama. And like we were talking about when we made our bracket, this BYU team, if they get hot, they can be dangerous. And Dad, they got hot this weekend. And damn, they're looking like they can hit everything that they need to against an Alabama team that defensively gave me some worries against Robert Morris. I was rooting for the 15-2 at a certain point because it was getting close. It was a tie game. Defensively against St. Mary's yesterday, the only thing that really has them win that game by 14 points is the fact that they were trying to be fast. St. Mary's was making it a gross, slow game for them, and they weren't liking it. And they were still giving St. Mary's some shots. They just can't hit them all. Now, is it going to be enough from this BYU team to be able to take down this Alabama team and the speed and the 4 days off of rest and the 4 days of game planning that Nate Oates is going to get here for the team? I don't know. Typically, you see teams that get hot beyond the 3-point line in March, especially for the first two rounds. Are they going to be able to continue that on? Are they going to remain hot, or is this going to cool them off, not being able to play 2 games in 2 days or 3 days and then having to take a break and try to play that same game against an Alabama team that, if you've watched any of the BYU game tape this week, you're going to try to force them off the 3-point line?
I will say in BYU, I did have them to this point. But, as crazy as it's going to sound, but you're going to a new arena, new lights.
Yep. That's true. That's very true. You see it all the time with the Final Four, specifically that one, because of the weird depth that they have. Some of those, if they do them in the football stadium and it's the raised court, the depth perception of the shooters into a really deep stadium that's just all black, it's hard to shoot for them. I think East is going to Newark. So they're going to go play in Prudential Center, I'm guessing, for the Devils. So they don't play a lot of basketball there, I don't think. These teams specifically, like throughout the year, I don't think they have many like tournaments and stuff that go through there.
Wouldn't it be Madison? Oh, you said Newark.
That's what I thought. Okay. It is Newark. That's what I thought it was going to be, Madison Square Garden. That would be different, especially, this Duke team just played a game there a month and a half ago against Illinois and beat them by 40 points. but also teams go there and play their games there throughout the year with these, early season tournaments. So they'd get more adjusted to that faster than they would in Newark, I'd say. But it is interesting. A lot of these guys, they're switching up spots. I think we were looking at this. So the East is going to Newark. The Midwest is going to Indianapolis in the Lucas Oil Stadium. So they'll be in a football stadium.
Wow.
Something to think about for the shooting. The West is going to San Fran, so they'll probably play in Oracle or whatever the new one is for the Warriors. I don't think it's Oracle anymore. And then the South is going to Atlanta, so they'll also play in a basketball stadium. So yeah, I guess as we're talking about that with the Midwest here.
Well, is Atlanta going to be, or are they putting it in Mercedes-Benz, another football stadium?
Let's see, actually. It is in the Chase Center. So it is a basketball stadium.
Okay.
So in the Midwest here, the only one that we know that will be on a football field and this whole basketball stuff created there, is this going to affect the shooting of, let's say, let's start off at the top, Purdue, who a big team, a big pick to get upset by not only High Point early in our bracket, we did have that, but then some people that had, McNeese going thought that Purdue was going to get upset by them then in the second round, but they're seeming to take care of business, not really stick into these games that are potential upset threats. Their three-point shooting is carrying them throughout it. It's how they were able to beat High Point, even though they were sticking around for a little. It's just that throughout the game, most consistently, Purdue shots were falling and High Points weren't when they needed it to be. McNeese was, this is a 14-point game at the final score, but, this one was ugly. It was like 20-something points at half. Kind of just got ahead of them, hitting their shots, and didn't really let them get back into the game. Do you see them being able to keep up this hot shooting against a Houston team that is great defensively and, started off like 32-9 against SIU in their first game against the 16, and a team that then had to go play a really good Gonzaga team and played a really tough, tight game, but pulled that one out, a game that a lot of people thought the Zags could do it. Do you think this hot shooting is going to continue for Purdue, or is Houston's way of playing ball going to prevail, and are they going to slow this down, make it ugly, and push them off the three-point line?
Well, so Purdue's obviously going to have the fan base, but yet when you're putting it in a football stadium of, 65, or probably because it's a football, you could fit 80,000 in there. And we're talking about the depth and just how it's going to be, crowd noise. I think Houston's style will be able to withstand, because of the up and down transition opportunities that they'll possess and the high flying. Yeah, I'd keep Houston.
Yeah. It'll be a good one, though. This one, I think, has opportunity to be one of the best of this round, a sneaky pick to be one of the best.
I'd say
as long as it doesn't get
ahead of them.
As long as it doesn't get too slow and gross. The other one ahead of them, though, yes. Now this one, familiar opponents, like we said when we were doing our bracket, we did think these two teams would be here. And now we're gonna see, is it true? How hard is it to beat oh my God, how hard is it to beat a team 3 times in one season? As that's what Kentucky's trying to do here. Swept the Vols in the regular season, and they get to meet them again in the Sweet 16 here. Going into, the first weekend, I would have definitely said Tennessee here over Kentucky, but I will say Kentucky's impressed me through the last through these first 2 games. I really thought Troy was going to give them a little more trouble. I did end up having, picking Illinois to beat them yesterday in some parlays and stuff, just because of the hot shooting that Illinois had against the Xavier game. But Kentucky offense is moving for them. And whereas a lot of people were thinking maybe the defensive end was going to be where a lot of these teams were going to get under Kentucky's skin and make these games hard. Kentucky's been playing good defense, getting up to their guys, hands in the face, generating some turnovers that you probably didn't expect to see out of this team. And they've looked really good enough to the point where I don't know, this could now be a toss-up. If their good play is going to carry over into this weekend, they might be able to pull the third win out on the Vols.
This will be the best game of the week, or the first Thursday, Friday. Yeah. This will be the best game. You have a brand new coach in Kentucky with his alma mater. You have them playing well. You have a Tennessee coach first time since 2019
that Kentucky's made it out of the first weekend. Yep.
You have a Tennessee coach that has not fared well in the tournament. They are the higher seed. And we also said, how can a team beat somebody 3 times in a row? With all that being said, I'm still going to stick with the Vols.
Okay.
By 2 points.
2 points. Yeah, this one will come down to the wire. It's good. Well, we'll see once they open up the second chance brackets that they always do this week because everyone's busted. Seems like you'll have Tennessee. I'll have Kentucky, I think. But I don't know. I might flip-flop on that all week. And then come Friday, once it's game time and once we're putting in the parlays for the day, I don't know which side of the rivalry I'll be sticking on yet. We'll move over to the West, the other side here. We've got number 1 Florida versus number 4 Maryland. Narrowly escaped an upset by Colorado State on the only technically buzzer beater that we've had so far in the tourney. What's going on here in this game? Florida walked through Norfolk State. They looked exactly how people thought they were going to look, and then played a tough game against UConn that, yes, 2 points, but UConn had a bucket right before the final buzzer here. So this ended up being, this is a little not as close as the score is telling you. But UConn played them tough. Is this something to worry about for Florida, or is this more, do you think, like we brought up on our stream yesterday while watching the Duke game, while Baylor was sticking close, is that because the 8 seeds usually get those 9 seeds, and those are sometimes toss-up games, hard, tough games for you, and you bring in that experience of being in a tight game already compared to the 1 seed that got the cakewalk through the 16 and is just now adjusting to the real speed of what this March Madness ball is supposed to be like.
Yeah, I mean, again, UConn and Gonzaga probably should not have been 8 seeds. Now, technically, UConn, yes, based on the regular season, but yet a team that this is the first loss in 2.5 years.
13 tournament games before this. Yep. 13-0.
And yet they had an 8-point lead close to the end, and just let it slip. I haven't been big on Maryland. I said this last week. I had them losing to Grand Canyon. So
which definitely didn't happen.
Nope. And they almost lost to our Colorado State. So I'm not big. I think Florida, will handle business 6-7 points, which sounds like a closer game than I think it actually will be.
Yeah, I think, Maryland looked really good against Grand Canyon, and then I don't think it's that they looked bad and we're going to lose that game against Colorado State. I think Colorado State just played a really, really good 39 minutes and 30 seconds in this game to stick up there with Maryland. But ultimately, Maryland in their Crab 5 starting lineup, I just don't think they go deep enough here. I think Florida ends up getting some of their guys into foul trouble. And then Maryland, when they're forced to go deep, they start forcing up some bad shots. They try to stay in the game with threes and not settle for twos when they need them. And I think that's going to be what ends up being the difference in this game. You're going to have Maryland go on a little cold stretch at one point, not settling for twos, not taking the smart shots. Florida gets up by 10, 13 points, and then just kind of cruises throughout the rest of the game until, like you're saying, at the end, whether it be garbage time or free throws, Maryland ends up losing this 7-8, but it's really not as close as that says.
Yeah.
And then the last one of the West, we've got number 3 Texas Tech facing off against number 10 Arkansas. This one was really where I decided I didn't care about these brackets anymore. Once St. John's ended up losing to Arkansas, I had them way too far, and that one really shocked me. But Arkansas, Coach Cal, his experience in March, a lot of the guys that he brought from the Kentucky team last year, this is when he's gone on runs before, this is what he does, and they look good. Is it going to be good enough to beat this Texas Tech team, though?
I don't think so. I think their magic will, again, probably a nice close game, but kind of like, yeah, as you mentioned, the game that no one really is going to be excited to be watching. Yeah, Texas Tech will continue on.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech is hitting stride and starting to play their best basketball when it counts right now. When it matters, they look good against Drake. A lot of people were saying, Drake, fun little upset story in the first round against Missouri. Looked like a good team. Looked like somebody that could compete with Texas Tech in the next round, and then Texas Tech handles that by 13 points. They're not playing with their food. They're just going out there playing good ball, and they're going to do that against Arkansas. I feel like they'll look very efficient offensively. Defensively, they're going to play amazing how they've played, and I think that's going to be the difference, whether it be if Coach Cal can't coach up his team to get ready for this moment, or if it's just going to be that the talent in the defense is just too much to get through. That's going to be the difference. Texas Tech is going to win this on the defensive end and pull off what might be close, but they're going to look comfortable in this one. I don't think they're going to get into a situation where they're worrying too much. The last region here, we've got number 1 Auburn versus number 5 Michigan. A Michigan team
we didn't finish though. We jumped around. I'm sorry, because we were talking about locations, and then that messed us up. We didn't talk about the Alabama BYU game.
We briefly did, but who wins it then?
Alabama.
I don't know. I think I've got BYU here. I think this might be one of the upsets we get on Thursday and Friday. Like I said, I think Alabama. I had mentioned something to you last week about, of all the 1s and 2 seeds, which one do you think is most likely to get upset in the first round? You said Tennessee over Wofford, which was looking close for a little bit, there in the second half, but Tennessee pulled away. I did end up saying Alabama over Robert Morris. I don't know what it was. Something was just telling me that Robert Morris might be able to stick around with them. And Alabama really needs to beat you by running you out of the gym. And when somebody can run with them, at that point, it's like, all right, now we really have to hit the shots because we don't have any other card. I think that's what happened in the Robert Morris game, what kept it so close. And at a certain point, had Robert Morris up in this game late. St. Mary's, Alabama won that because St. Mary's wanted to get the game really slow, and their pace was just too much for them to handle there. But I think BYU can run with them. And I think BYU's hot shooting is going to stick around because I don't trust Alabama defensively going into this weekend as much as I did going into the first weekend based off of what I saw through these first 2 games.
Well, yeah, defensively, I don't trust it either. I think it'll be high scoring. I'd take the over in this, but I just think that, again, we mentioned you're playing in an arena that is built for hockey, but close to, most arenas, hockey, basketball, flip, but still, BYU's now going East Coast. Again, time difference. I'm going to take Alabama.
All right, that's fair. So we differ on those two. And then the last region in the South. Number 1 Auburn, number 5 Michigan. As I was just about to say, I didn't have Michigan this far at all. Had them losing to UC San Diego, and they should have. I feel like UC San Diego got robbed a couple times at the end of that game. But to put all of that to rest, Michigan looked very good against Texas A&M in the second round, winning 91-79. I don't know if they can pull it off against this Auburn team, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think of all the 1 seeds now at this point, Auburn may be the first one to drop. I would have said that about Houston, but they made it through Gonzaga, and that was my biggest worry for them. So I think it's one that a lot of people are going to just write Auburn in on this game, and I feel like that's scary. And once we know that a lot of people are on Auburn, we might have to look to the other side of Michigan and see, are they going to be able to do enough to pull off this upset?
Well, bracket-wise, I got obviously Auburn going through, and we talked about this, going to the final to play against Duke, the best 2 teams. But out of this Sweet 16, this is my potential upset.
Yeah.
I like how Michigan's been playing. You have a brand new coach. He's just got the team fired behind them. It's that Cinderella. It's that special story you need come tournament time. There's one of those teams, you know.
I don't know if they're your Cinderella team, but
not Cinderella per se, but just that good feel. Hey, you know, new coach that came from, you know, Division II. He is a Michigan native. Now he's playing here or coaching here. The guys like him. It's a big turnaround from last year with Juwan Howard, and now they've gotten here. And that one kid, I forget his name, but number 1. I mean, ball goes through him. He either scores or passes. Yeah, this if I hope for my bracket, I hope Auburn goes through, but this will be the potential upset of the weekend.
Well, I could see it too. I mean, the reason this Michigan team was able to look so good against Texas A&M and win that one, they've got those 2 7-footers down there that they can match up physically. And I will say, like, Kalkbrenner from Creighton, that tall white guy for them, I think number 11 or whatever it is. After seeing him in the first game against Louisville, I was just like, maybe Creighton can do it against Auburn, because Auburn struggles with teams that can match their physicality down low, and match their size or just outsize them down low and get the boards that you need to. Kalkbrenner for Creighton wasn't enough to do it, but it's a different situation once you have to account for 2 7-footers to defensively play around and, you know, try to out-rebound there. And so, yes, if Michigan is able to pull this off, it will be because they are winning the rebounding battle and they are winning the battle in the paint. And I don't know, I kind of like it too. I might pick Michigan with you here too, and, you know, have a little fun with it. Something about this Auburn team, while yes, number 1 overall seed and everything, I don't know. I feel like they've got to drop, and this one definitely could be it. Well, then, if we have Michigan going on, is this going to set up a Michigan State Elite 8 for us in the South? The last game of the Sweet 16 for the South region. We've got number 6 Ole Miss. We've got number 2 Michigan State. Michigan State pulled off a close one against New Mexico yesterday. Late last night. I think it's just another thing of New Mexico playing great ball. Michigan State played a good game too. New Mexico was just playing their ass off too, because that's their last game of the season at that point. Ole Miss, though, a team that not a lot of people had beating North Carolina out of the first round, but then also against Iowa State in the second round, where they looked very good, and offensively they are hitting everything that they need to right now, and they are doing a great job at pushing. One of their best defensive strengths is pushing guys off the line on the 3-point line and not allowing those opportunities to kill you. I think that same game plan is going to be able to apply to this Michigan State game very well. They could beat them. They really could, because I
Mhm.
haven't seen anything from Michigan State that's really make me that much confident in them pulling off this win. I think this one's going to be very close. I think we see a game that is 2 points or something like that. I think we do still see the in-state matchup in
Mhm.
Michigan and State and the Elite Eight. The script is written. They want to see it. I mean, you're getting Kentucky, Tennessee, Sweet 16. You're getting Michigan, Michigan State, Elite Eight. I mean, these are some great rivalries that you get to have in this tournament. But don't sleep on Ole Miss here. Don't sleep on Ole Miss and how they've been playing and how their game plan is going to apply to this game too.
Well, I mean, going through a supposedly tough SEC, season, but yet, and yeah, surprise. I mean, I had Ohio State here, Iowa State, but no, I think, the tough schedule, the tough games that Ole Miss has had to play in their, conference schedule against supposedly a phenomenal SEC what am I trying to say?
Regular
Conference.
season.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. What am I trying to say here? But yeah, I think Michigan State. I mean, again, you don't want to root against Izzo. You can't at this point.
I feel like once they get this deep, you do rely on Izzo. If they can't get it out of the first weekend, it's, oh, wow, Izzo didn't coach up his team enough. But if they get out the first weekend and they get to the Sweet 16, now it's flip the table and it's don't root against Izzo. This is a tough team. This is a good coach. Yeah, I'll take the coaching at the end of it there, and take Michigan State. All right. Well, then very quickly, we're not going to go through the games, but give me your Final Four now that's all updated.
With what we just picked.
Yeah. I know we had some differences, but give me your Final Four.
So I will say it will be a Michigan State. I will say it's a Florida. I will say Duke. And then I got Tennessee.
Okay. I've got Michigan, Texas Tech, Duke, and this Midwest is a toss-up. It really is. I'll take Houston, I guess. I know it's not fun. I think Kentucky ends up winning that game, but I just don't think Kentucky is a Final Four team.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't scroll all the way down. Yeah. I got Houston. Yeah. Not right. Tennessee, I got Houston.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there we go. We'll see if that's correct. Oh, the second chance brackets are available. Cool. I'll make a bunch of those this week. All right. Well, enough about March Madness here, but let's keep it on the topic of basketball. Dad, this week, the Boston Celtics sold for a record, what was it, $6.8 billion or something?
Yeah.
$6.1 billion. As this saga about the sale is finally starting to move on. The idea, I guess, is that Wick is still going to stay in his position until the 2027-2028 season.
Yeah.
And then they'll be looking for somebody else to replace him there. But just something to note, I think we did bring this up once the idea came out that Wick was going to sell the team. We were just waiting on who would do it. But I'm pretty happy about it. My only thing here was I just didn't want the Fenway Sports Group to get this team too.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were in the running and they were talking about making a bid. Well, they did finally, shut up and put their money where their mouth was for the Red Sox this season. We've seen that ownership, get yelled at and torn apart recently for the Sox. Didn't want them to do that to a Celtics team that is right in the middle of their window right now and should have this window for the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully as well. And the new owner, apparently Massachusetts native, big Boston sports fan, big Celtics fan. Should be a good one. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, and obviously, from reading a lot about this sale, I think partially keeping Wick as the CEO is meaning that, yes, he made some decent amount of money, obviously, by selling this, but I'm sure part of that, or what would be his CEO salary, is going to that luxury tax that they're going to have to pay. So maybe he's just CEO in name, not going to get a salary from it. But still, he made tons of money anyway. So, but also, what that does to a potential Seattle or Vegas expansion, I'm sure the NBA is very excited about this price.
Yeah. Well, don't look now, Dad, but the Boston Celtics are only 5 games out from the number 1 seed in the East. The Cavs have been crumbling. Like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, guys, it was bound to happen. They were bound to have a run of losses. That's what happened to them. They did win last night to break that streak, but before that, they had lost to the Suns, they lost to the Kings, they lost to the Clippers, they lost to the Mavs, and they're trying to make it close for us again. Is it a little too late, potentially, as we're looking here, and we've only got 2.5 more weeks, 3 weeks of this regular season, and you're going to need the Cavs to go on another losing stretch to be able to really make a run at this. But Celtics are doing everything that they need to do right now. They've looked hot. They're getting through, a bunch of bad teams, but they're playing these games and blowing them out the park like they're supposed to. It feels like they're finally starting to reach that peak, reach that stretch right at the end of the season. They're playing their best ball when they need to. And a lot of these worries that I had for them, prior to the All-Star break and stuff that we brought up defensively and rebounding and 3-point shooting that we've brought up continuously throughout the year, seeming to get fixed. And this is, I'm really starting to see the team right now that we've said all season, you don't want to see this team in the playoffs because you won't beat this team in a 7-game series.
They are running on all cylinders, getting healthy at the right time. And that's probably why they're your number 2 seed. Based on what we said, the only thing that could probably hurt them is injuries, and they've had it. But now they're getting healthy. And the role players, the rookie, that one game he had on
Baylor Sharman.
Yep. Oh my God. So getting him some minutes now in the regular season can potentially help them. Should there be another injury, Jaylen Brown or something goes down, he can fill. The only thing I'm concerned about in looking at the upcoming schedule, should be very easy for them to finish off the year, minus the Suns,
the Knicks,
and the Knicks.
And yeah.
I don't want them to continue on and go, what we got 1, 2, 3, 4,
11.
5, 6, 7, 11. Yeah. Go 11-0 plus the last couple games. You need a loss or 2.
Just to settle you back. Just to get you back to where you need to be, knowing that you are susceptible to losing.
Big sorry, I was trying to find the mute button. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, I think what will be in the end, I think the Cavs still hold off by, 2,
3 games,
maybe
2 or 3
games. But yet everyone's still, is all the experts on ESPN, every place, they're all saying the Celtics are the favorite to make it out of the East and to win. Even if you go 9-2 the rest of the way, and it be a 2, the Cavs just are not going to be able to come the Eastern Conference Final, beat us in 7.
Now, granted, I know they get to play a lot of games. They've been good at home. They're 30-5, 24-12 for us at home so far. We've been very good on the road, 28-7. I think that's the best record, tied with the Thunder, best away record in the league right now. So I don't think the Celtics are too worried about it. I've said this to you a couple weeks ago. I think this was their only thing to really try to run on this year was, are they going to be able to do it again? And blah blah blah. Like they peaked last year, can they do it? Well, all right, we'll play our season, and we'll put ourselves into the position where we're not the number 1 seed, where we might need to go into the road on the road in a game 7 in an Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs, and we'll beat that one too. Or we won't even need to get to 7 games just to show you, just to really put that cherry on top. We're not scared of anybody. And I think the Cavs limping along to the finish line here, starting to look, in the rear view, being like, oh shit, there come those Celtics again. They never left.
Yeah, and the thing with the Cavs is it's Donovan Mitchell's team. And if he has a bad night, there's really nobody else that can pick it up. And because I think the team, I mean, they're talented, but if Donovan's not having a night, I think they press more. Well, again, the Celtics are so deep. If it's not Jason's night, he's still going to be able to pull off a bunch of assists and get his rebounds. And Jalen, or it's Derek White. Oh my God, or Peyton Pritchard. I mean, that stat that you sent me on Twitter with those 3-pointers, and all 3 of them could pass.
Oh yeah, thank you. I wanted to bring this up. Let me find this. Here it is. So this was on March 18th. I think we've had like 1 or 2 games since. This might not be updated, but it's a race to see who is going to be the new holder of the most 3-pointers in Celtics history in a season. Right now, or like I said, it might not be completely updated, but right now, 2017 Isaiah Thomas with 245 is first. You got 2023 Tatum with 240 second, 2022 Tatum with 230 in third, 2024 Tatum with 229 in fourth. You got Derek White, 2025 Derek White, 228, 2025 Jason Tatum, 227, and 2025 Peyton Pritchard with 223. Wouldn't it be fun if Peyton could end up taking that record from this year?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you how, it's the Joe Mazzulla ball. And yes, you live by the 3, you die by the 3, but this team is just taking good shots. They are not forcing themselves into bad threes. They're taking good shots. They're taking the ones that they know they can hit. And it's not just to keep them in games at this point. You're not hitting desperation threes. You're hitting, threes to continue to build your lead. And when you can do that at will, when you want to, but then also settle for the 2s when you need them, it just makes you very dangerous on that offensive end and very hard for teams to keep up with you.
Yeah, you made a point. Not these desperation, not these somebody's in your face threes. It's because of the ball movement. Incredible ball movement enables these guys to be wide open and to hit these gorgeous threes.
Yep.
Now, yes, Peyton, that's his game, and sometimes he steps back and has someone, in his face, but the kid can still hit it.
Definitely.
I mean, it's obviously a game that I would probably hate if it was anybody else playing the style, but I love how our Celtics are doing it.
I agree.
And I think it's because of the ball movement.
It definitely is. They're an unselfish team. They just are out there to win. It's something that you can see, like if you've watched Duke this last weekend, they are just playing unselfish ball. And when a team is that talented and that scary, that all 5 of their guys can make a shot, but they're also playing unselfish ball and always looking for the extra pass, it makes it very hard to beat them because you don't know who to focus on. You don't know where to put a hand up.
Here's a theory. This is wild theory I'm going to throw out there. You ready?
Sure.
Because we have assets, because Brad is an incredible GM, Cooper Flagg comes back next year because he's just enjoying his time in Duke. and then the next year there is some amazing trade, and the Celtics will get Cooper Flag in 2 years.
I have been racking my brain trying to figure out situations this year in which Cooper Flag can become a Celtic, especially because he's a Celtics fan, being up there from Maine. Big Celtics guy. He loves Jason Tatum, too.
Yeah.
One of his favorite players. I mean,
it won't be this year.
We'd be crazy. We'd be crazy to say that Cooper Flag is coming back to stay. However, he has said at least thought about it. And I really don't think he wants to play for a lot of these teams that are going to be up there for that one.
That's why I think he's coming back.
He could. I think, and I've talked about this with Josh a couple times. I even think during our watch parties for Duke so far this year. I don't know. I think it's what happens in the tournament here. If they were to lose Thursday to Arizona, I think he's gone. If they make it to the Elite Eight and lose, I think he's back. If they make it to the Final Four and lose, I think he's gone. If they make it to the national championship and lose, he will 100% be coming back. He wants that title.
I think if they do win, which we have them, and I think they're the most talented team, I think somehow, and yes, we mentioned that I don't think he's really excited about some of these teams, and you know, let's not paint a bad picture about the kid. I think he's a straight up awesome Maine person. And I just think then the excitement of winning and can we do back to back keeps him back, coming back another year.
Potentially. I mean, there's some thought into it as well of, you know, if they get through and they do win it all, does Cooper look back at his 1 year and he looks back at all the media and everybody that will be praising him Tuesday morning after the national championship? And does he sit back and think, wow, that was great. Do I want to run it back again and arguably go down as the greatest college basketball player of all time? Make a run for that. Back-to-back titles of Cooper Flag. It's something to put out there. People are going to be like, no, obviously he wouldn't be in that conversation. But you got to give him his credit. He's been an unbelievable talent in his year. Yes, he's been surrounded by a great team. And he'd be surrounded by a good team next year as well. But I don't know. We don't know yet.
I mean, the kid is leading in points, rebounds, assists, and block shots for his team. You know, ACC Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year.
He's going to be the Naismith Player of the Year as well.
Yeah. And if he wins your darn
title, he'll be Final Four MVP.
And you're the MVP? I mean, come on. He's got all the hardware, all the trophies, and with NIL right now,
he's got to be upwards of $8 million.
And you could do that again. I mean, and what? Have an opportunity to try and rebuild Charlotte?
Or Washington, who literally looks terrible. Like, I don't think if it's just Cooper Flag. I think if there was somebody else in this consensus number one pick over Cooper this year, we'd be having the same conversation. Are the Wizards so bad that somebody will skip and go another year to college because that team just looks unsavable right now? I don't know. It's something to see. It's something to monitor. We'll start to bring up the conversation about it. Try to get ahead of the curve here before we start hearing people at the end of this week. Is Cooper Flag coming back? Is he trying to make a run for the Celtics? But yes, I've thought about it. I've thought about it all. I've dreamed about it for months now. I think something along the lines, if it did happen, a Kristaps Porzingis and 3 firsts.
I mean, we have so much depth and talent right now. Yeah, you could send Drew. You could send Peyton.
I think he'd probably send Peyton. They're probably not taking Drew with as old as he is. And I like Drew for his defensive ability to still, stay on the team for trying to make a run in 2 years as well. And he'll be at the end of that contract. If Drew doesn't pan out for what we hope he will, That's a heavy contract to pick up for a guy for another 2 years at the end of his career. Though I think, maybe a Kristaps, Peyton, 2 firsts, 3 firsts. Maybe that gets you Cooper Flag. Who knows? Okay. So enough about the Celtics here. Enough about basketball. That I wanted to bring up really quickly as spring training has ended. Our Boston Red Sox.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Let's just go to the other team in the TD Bank Garden. The owners of that would just RIP your Bruins.
Bruins are done. I think we're done talking about Bruins. Bruins have given us no reason to want to talk about them for the last 2 weeks now. And then they just lost 7-2 to the Kings yesterday. How many more games do we have of this pathetic season? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank God. Bruins. What a shit year. I'll just say that. What a underwhelming year. What we thought was going to be good on paper. Just a terrible Bruins season. And so uncharacteristic of them considering what we've seen out of the Bruins the last couple years too.
And I saw something which, again, I just clicked off my tab for them, so I don't know, but I did see that the Bruins have only had the number 1 pick 3 times in their lifetime, which was just kind of weird that they showed this. Now, yes, it was when they were playing the San Jose Sharks, and Joe Thornton was a number 1 pick and then ended up going to play for San Jose, and they showed his jersey in the rafters. But I wonder if we're going for shooting for number 1.
I don't think so. And even if we do, based off of how we've drafted recently, we would probably end up fucking up that pick too. All right. Yeah, rest in peace, Bruins. All right, so what I wanted to say, Sox, spring training's done. Finished 15-12 in the Grapefruit League, 3rd in that, but once again, these standings don't really matter. But some exciting news, we're getting this week some news about who's going to make the roster, who's getting cut, who's not going to be there. And the kids, Kristian Campbell specifically, has been informed he will make the opening day roster. It is a reality. We are going to see at least one of these prospects come opening day. I haven't heard too much about Mayor Anthony yet.
They're in Worcester.
They're both in AAA. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. But that's fine, because we have log jams at those positions, like we've said. But I mean, Marcelo has been phenomenal in spring training. I think he's probably closest on track to get called up the fastest come the start of the season, depending on what happens, if there's a story injury or something as well. More good news. Devers did finally come out saying he'd be okay. That's the best we're going to get. But being okay with being the DH. So it seems like that saga of the Devers drama it's kind of slowed down, and we don't need to worry about it too much, and we can slow down with the trade proposals to the Blue Jays for Vlad. So that's good news there. And we play 28th. We play Friday. I think that starts it off. Am I looking at this right?
Down in Monterey.
No, we're done. Yeah, but like spring training's done. We're playing 2 more games. Yeah, no, and then we play the Rangers Thursday. Thursday's opening day. I was wondering if it was like Wednesday or Thursday. You thought they'd be smart and potentially not schedule this on the first day of the Sweet 16. You'd think they would do this on Wednesday to have their own day. Start Thursday. Start with some games that matter. So start next week. We got Sox talk all the time again. We're back into that time. Hopefully a good first series against the Rangers. We've got Garrett Crochet will be opening day starter on Thursday. Do you have it?
I have our roster. Yep.
Okay. Do you know who's starting? Does it have our projected for Friday, Saturday as well?
No, I just have the
And Sunday?
roster, but we got Crochet, Hulk, Bueller, Fitz, with Chapman, Hendricks, Slayton, Whitlock, and Wilson.
Okay. I do know Cora came out and said our boy Dick Fitz is going to be number 4 starter. So then he'll get Sunday night. Well, not Sunday night. I don't think we play Sunday night. He'll get Sunday 2:30 against the Rangers. I'd assume then we have Hulk Friday. And who'd you say third?
Bueller.
Bueller on
Yep.
Saturday then? Yeah, that sounds correct. You think we do end up seeing Devers at DH come Thursday to start the season?
Yeah, so let's go to the position players. Wong and Navarez are your catchers. Tristan Cassis, Campbell, Story, Bregman, Devers, they have listed as the DH. Abreu, Rafaela, Duran, Hamilton, Romy Gonzalez, and Rob Reschneider.
It's interesting that Hamilton made it. I was hearing some stuff about he might not have made the team, and that probably was the last decision. I guarantee you. It probably came down to him being the last guy. Are we going to take Hamilton, or is it going to be Mayer that ends up making the opening day roster as well? But I think with bringing up Kristian Campbell, you keep Hamilton because of the speed that you can have coming off the bench for him.
Yep.
You don't need the bat of Mayer and the defense of Mayer with Story being there at short. You probably take Hamilton so you have some speed there. And we'll see how long he stays up, but he's probably your designated pinch runner guy start of the year.
And the fact that he can go play second base. Now, obviously, Bregman can shift over, but I think, you want to keep Alex at third as much as possible for the defense. And Hamilton then can slide over if Kristian is not looking comfortable, although everything that I was listening to was saying that usually Kristian, even in whatever level he's been at, he starts off slow.
He does. And it hasn't been like defensively, he's been fine. It's the bat that was worrying some people.
Yeah.
Starting off a little slow. But yes, I do remember this. I mean, this happened last season in his rise up at the AAA level, where going into the season, it was, look at Roman and Teal and Mayer, and then Campbell came out of nowhere after his cold start and was hitting 300 the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that he'll get adjusted to too. It's seeing the major league speed. It's seeing these new pitches, feeling comfortable in Fenway with the backdrop behind you and everything. I feel like that'll get figured out unless it doesn't. And at what point, if you don't see his offense turning around, are you thinking about waving the flag on it, being like, hey, let's take a look at this? Is it end of April? Is it mid-May?
I think what's going to happen is that the kid will stay through the year. It might start off, so say what, you have 6 games. It might be almost a split through April, 3-3 between Hamilton and Campbell. And then come May, hopefully he's adjusted, the hot bat starts, and then it's his. And then at that point, do you use Hamilton still? Or is he a somebody that you could trade? And then bring up Nick Sogard, or which has, I think, more versatility, or Mayer even at that point. But I think we'll have probably a split to start off the year.
I didn't hear you say Von Grisham on that lineup, did I?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Very.
Sad that still hasn't panned out. I really wanted it to, but poor guy. All right. Well,
Yeah, but hey, if you are a Woo Sock fan, holy crap, what a team.
yeah, what a fun year. What a fun team that they'll have down there. Last thing here, because you were talking about the pitchers that didn't end up making it, and we just talked about who's going to have this first series against Texas. Did get news that Brian Bell will be gone for a little bit, hoping to return shortly after the season begins sometime in early April, but he's been dealing with that shoulder injury that has him on the IL to start the year. So we won't see the full starting rotation in effect yet, but hopefully soon after the first couple series, he gets back up to speed and is ready to go.
Hey,
All
and
right,
it might be good that everyone was talking about a 6-man for them, and how the season starts off with that you have some extra days. And yeah, we could still have some freaky weather and some days off to start off the season. It might be good that you go 4 because you want Garrett as much as possible, and there'll be extra days off to begin the season.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, Dad. Well, this is fun. Are you ready? We're finally back in time. Let's look ahead at the Red Sox week. Like I said, we've only got the series against the Rangers starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and ending on Sunday. We know our starting pitchers, this Texas team that went 13-15 in spring training, but are a threat in the AL West there. I'm going to give it to the Sox 3-1 in this series. I think they win the first series of the year. I think we get strong pitching, and that's what propels us to 3 of these wins. You get a game that I don't know who would be. Maybe I hope not Crochet. I hope we just see ourselves start 1-0. I see Houck Friday night, 8:00. I like that for him. I think you see a good day there. Maybe you see something with Bueller with a night game on Saturday where he loses that one, but I think it's probably a close one, 5-4. They pull it out, and then they drop the season finale with my guy Dick Fitz at 2:35 on Sunday, in one that we won't get killed in, I don't think, but a 7-3 Rangers win or something like that, just to salvage a game for them to end the series.
I agree in the fact that we will have a 3-1 series win. I agree with the game we lose, but I think it'll be different. I think we won't offensively put up the numbers for Dick, and no pun intended, and it'll be like a 2-0 loss. Richard goes 6 innings, some strong pitching performance.
Okay. But you're just saying we don't get it up enough for Dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dick's not going to have the run support.
Yeah.
This year.
Dick's, yeah. Damn. All right. Enough about the Sox here. Dad, one thing about the Pats that I want to talk about here before we get into our defensive line rankings. Have you seen these rumors and stuff what's been going around this week? Stephon Diggs visiting with the Patriots. Stephon Diggs, Drake May following each other on Instagram. Stephon Diggs, New England Patriots potentially still talking about a contract and no bad words yet about it. So is this something that you think might end up happening? Is he the guy we're looking for? Now, granted, he might not be the Stephon Diggs of, the last couple of years, and he's coming off this ACL tear, but could come back to the AFC East. He's better than anybody we have in our wide receiver room right now. So he would kind of fall into there as the one anyways. I know it was kind of a late season ACL or later in the season ACL injury, so I don't know if he's going to be all right to start the year, but could this be our diamond in the rough here? Did we wait it out, and did we find a good one with Stephon Diggs here that could potentially hold us off until we hear something come the draft?
Well, I mean, it'd be interesting, but again, I think a lot of his football's behind him. I saw this morning and I like this a lot better. Brandon Ayuk, the number 11 and number 43 for number 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I don't know. I mean, he's coming off an ACL tear as well. Like, I think I'd rather keep the 4 as of right now. Keep the 4, but who knows? That sounds like that's something that could happen on draft day. That would be more of a on the draft day trade than it would before. And I think I'm fine with that situation if we get to 4, Travis is gone, and Abdul Carter are gone, and you're forced there to say, hey, do I take McMillan and feel like I'm reaching? Or do I take an O-lineman? And, like we've said last week when we went over O-line, yeah, I guess you feel good about Will Campbell or Calvin Banks, but you probably feel better about them at 11 down there at in the first round. I think that would work more. So I don't know. I'd be fine with that if that's on draft day, but I wouldn't mind signing Diggs in the meantime as well.
Or our kid that we like in North Dakota State, you could get him at 11.
Good. I think it's just also something to note too. It's been said that Stephon Diggs may not be let's just say the best guy for locker room morale. And the one thing that's coming to my head here is with Vrabel coming in and what he's trying to instill in the team, just don't know if that's necessarily going to line up with Stephon. So if this doesn't get done, I think it probably comes down to that. All right, Dad, you want to start these defensive line? I think this one's pretty easy. When I briefly looked at this, like I said, this was the only week I don't have it fully prepared. But what I'm seeing as the top 10, pretty consensus. I think a lot of these guys are what I'm thinking here. So, and I think it's probably the same with you. We'll start off here with the top 3 because there are 3 big ones. And it's just a matter of which guy you have second and third, I'd say. Number 1 is pretty set in stone here, and that is Abdul Carter out of Penn State, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And, with that potential draft day trade and where he and, as you said, Hunter end up going, I mean, the great thing that the Patriots have done with this free agency is develop a great defense right now.
Yep.
And at the position that you could have Carter or Mason Graham at. I mean, it would be wild if Carter did fall to 4. And
I don't think it's too wild. It'd be wild to pass on him, yeah.
Because I mean, you already have what you've already done with the linebacker and Harold Landry.
Yes, but I think you made all those moves with the idea of our last piece of that puzzle would be an Abdul Carter. And you could have Harold Landry still out there, whether it's opposite of Carter and Keon White isn't on the field, or if you have Keon White opposite of Carter and you're taking Landry as more of an outside linebacker that puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback as well. Can drop into coverage if you need to, but you'd see packages of him also coming off the outside with Carter, or probably not on Carter's side, probably on Keon White's side then. I don't know. It would be wild to pass on him, but maybe they have a plan.
If we do get him, I think we're going to go more of a 3-4 type of defense. And very well, we could see a more 3-4 instead of what we've been playing with the 4-3,
4-2-1, whatever they're doing. Yeah. All right. Number 2 then. Is it Mason Graham or is it James Pierce for you?
Well, I just said Mason Graham. So
yeah,
earlier,
Yeah,
the kid is a disruptor, man.
He is. He's very good. I think I'd be stupid not to have him 2 here. But I will say, I really like who's here at 3, who's probably here at 3 for you as well, and James Pierce Jr. This is a guy going into this last college football season. Some were arguing was the consensus 1.01. I don't think he necessarily did anything to underachieve this year. You just didn't see him disrupt a game too many times when he was playing in that SEC. You got tough O-lines you're playing against. But he just wasn't a game disruptor like you're saying, Mason Graham. But he did test tremendously at the combine. 6'5", 243. He ran a 4.47, and this looked like a fast 4.47 when he was running it. I think put him in the right situation, something like what we saw for Jared Verse out of Florida State this last year, going to the Rams and having the defensive rookie of the year that he did, because he was in the right defensive system where he didn't have to be just the guy that you're worrying about, the O-line is worrying about pushing off, and he was still generating pressure elsewhere. I think he can do that if he's in a similar system, and I really like James Pierce to maybe not off week 1, blow up and be this guy, but by the end of the year, I think he could be a household name for the defensive rookie of the year run, but also just in terms of putting up good sack numbers and getting good pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the fact he's my number 3, and it's the right situation for him. Maybe a Dallas Cowboy type thing. The system and having the opportunity to learn and play off of someone. I'm excited about this group of defensive players fantasy wise that could be disruptors and getting us some points.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. 4, 5, 6 here. I'm going to rattle mine off. At 4, I've got Michael Williams out of Georgia, defensive end, edge, 265, 6'5", 465, 40. Then at 5, I've got Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. And at 6, let me go after the guy that was really jumping off draft boards at the Senior Bowl, and then also was the talk of the town a little bit at the Combine because he did test well. At 6, give me Mike Green out of Marshall.
I'm there, except I'm switching Stewart and Williams. I'm going Stewart 4, Williams 5, and yes, Mike Green, Marshall.
Wait, you 4? Have Stewart 5 or 4?
4.
Okay.
Stewart 4, Michael Williams 5, and Mike Green running a 4.57 at 6'4", 248.
Yeah, I know. I think he could be a good guy. And he had some really good clips, like I said, from the Senior Bowl when we were talking about O-line last week, and I mentioned Josh Connerly out of Oregon and why I had him a little lower than some of the other draft boards. It was because of the big clip where Mike Green just ran through him down to the ground, and everybody was like, wow, this little Marshall guy can do this against the Oregon guy. Yeah, I don't think we can call him the little Marshall guy anymore. I think he's going to be a good player, really good player. And I think he's going to get drafted in a good position where whoever does get him, I feel like you're going to get him for a steal. I feel like he might drop a little bit just because of some of the other depth and talent on the board before him. Okay. So then, Dad, we'll finish this off. Let's go 7, 8, 9, 10 to round off our top 10 D linemen here of the class. Number 7, if I can fucking type this correctly. Number 7, I've got Walter Nolan, DT out of Ole Miss. Number 8, I'm going to take Kenneth Grand, DT out of Michigan. Number 9, give me Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, the defensive end and edge, 285, 264, 470. I thought he was going to be a little faster on his 40. I will say that. I would have liked to see a 4.5, 4.57, 4.6 number out of him. And then number 10, as much as I hate him, just a good player and played phenomenal throughout the college football playoff. Give me Jack Sawyer at number 10 for the D-line.
Yeah, well, my number 7, I'm going Jack Sawyer. Again, what you said, I think just a football mind and really excited about what he can do in the next level. Then I'm going to go Kenneth Grant. I'll finish up with Walter Nolan, and then we'll take Nick Harmon out of Oregon.
Huh? Derek Harmon?
Derek Harmon.
Okay. Yeah, you said Nick Harmon. I was
Yeah.
like, you just combined the two.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. My 10, Carter, Graham, Pierce, Michael Williams, Stewart, Green, Nolan, Grant, Scorton, and Sawyer. And you've got Carter, Graham, Pierce, Stewart, Williams, Green, Sawyer, Grant, Nolan, and Harmon. And that's our D-line. That isn't crazy. We're now officially on to the defense. We've hit quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, O-line, D-line as 6 position groups. We're like halfway there to the draft. Now we get into the defensive side of the ball. It'd be cool to see, and obviously I'll recap all these once we get there in a couple weeks before the draft, but we'll have our full lists of, our top 10 at each position. Let's see who's kind of, is the right one. It will be interesting to see. We look back on here next draft in 2026 and look back at our first year and be like, oh yeah, we were kind of right about these. We can start this going on for the future. We'll just have, in 5 years, look back and we'll have a whole scrapbook of our draft classes. Who was our best draft class? That'd be awesome.
Which GM was better, me or you, and who gets drafted before? Yep.
All right. Well, Dad, that's all I've got. We wrap this up just around the time that we usually do here. Do you have anything else to say after kind of a packed episode here? March Madness, we got MLB starting up. The Sox are back. The Bruins are dead. The Celtics are great. And the Pats are, doing Pats things in the offseason, I guess. And we're just waiting along until more football and we get a draft. But great episode here. You got anything to take us out on?
No, just, I love, I think what we said a few episodes ago, or not a few, but maybe a year ago at this point, I had asked you, minus the Celtics, what team did you see potentially going on to a championship? Obviously excited with what the Sox can do, but I'm really excited about our Patriots. Not saying we're, Super Bowl bound and all, but they got a potentially a bright future.
Yeah, I know, a lot to look forward to. And, we got a little under 6 months until we start to see it. That'll be here before we know it. But all right, well, guys, we appreciate you listening to this episode of A New Era podcast. As always, if you'd like to keep up with us on social media outside of our episodes, please do so at A New Era Podcast on Instagram, at A New Era Podcast on Twitter or X, A New Era Podcast on Facebook. And if you'd like to email us any questions, concerns, or funny business, A New Era Podcast at gmail.com. Good luck with your second chance brackets this week. Hopefully it goes a lot better than these went. We had a perfect bracket pretty long this time around. I think they got to like the 42nd game. They got Duke. There was 3 going in yesterday.
Yep.
One lost it because they picked UConn. One lost it because they picked Baylor. And then the last guy lost it because they picked Illinois over Kentucky. But good luck with your second chance brackets. Hopefully they do better. And we will catch you guys next week for episode 65 of the New Era Podcast.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.